Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
Ah,
This
we got.
comment this comment came in before we were even on the air. So the latest we see Trump honoring the 13 soldiers killed in Afghanistan and their families before our country. No Kamala Harris. No Joe Biden. No Great Walls of China. Tim Walz. But President Trump is there out of respect after the debacle of a pullout that Biden screwed up. Let me say this. If you reduce a dog's chain one link at a time every few days until his chain is so short he won't be able to move, he will never resist because he is conditioned to the loss of his freedom slowly. Oh,
Very true words were never spoken, Steve.
that's
I
right. That's
agree.
right.
So now I can talk again. I'm finishing my coffee, my one coffee in the morning. I need a little spindle oil.
You must have got your sausage McMuffin with egg.
I did. Yeah, actually, I did. They're on sale for you guys. The only time you get anything cheap is when $2.50 for a sausage egg McMuffin at McDonald's now.
Yep, I know.
They're normally like $5. So I had to mail a letter today, so I went up to President Avenue Post Office, dropped off stuck a couple of letters in there, and then I shot over there and got myself a McMuffin. But no, true words were never spoken. That debauchery, and see, but you kind of talked about that indirectly in your flush. You quoted Michelle Obama as talking about stuff that they don't do, like you
Right.
can't set your own rules. You got to play by
Right.
the rules, but they don't. They make their
Exactly.
own rules, and see their mo is to the Terry Sullivan thing. Shut up. Don't talk about it. Keep your head down, and people will forget. Well, we're not going to forget, especially people who care about their veterans and being a veteran, and people even non-veterans. They understand the sacrifice these people made, and we understand that casualties are a part of unfortunately uh, being in the military, in war, or even in peacetime. A lot of military personnel are killed in training exercises and stuff. Uh,
All gave some, but some gave
some
all.
gave all. That's right. And like I said, some people, they die in training exercises. They don't publicize those things very often, but they do. Um, and for the Biden administration and the Democrats to continually not talk about the debacle that was that withdrawal and the 13 unnecessary deaths of our military personnel, and then for Joe Biden to be looking at his watch while they're on the caskets. I mean, look, these people don't care about anything except power and making themselves rich and gaining more power. And that was a classic example. I'm glad that you got me off on a. Yeah, that's one thing that hits a nerve with me. You know that.
Oh, I
But
know that.
those 13 families, like I said, they were so disrespected. Gold Star families. They have been so disrespected by that scum that we call Democrats. Those scumbags, and nothing. They don't mention it. They don't want to hear it. They don't talk about it. Oh, Afghanistan. We the biggest military debacle in the history of the world. I mean, it was like the end of Vietnam when they were falling off the helicopters and stuff. They were hanging on to a C-130, taxiing down a runway, falling off the plane, trying to get out of Afghanistan. They turned over Bagram Air Base, which is probably the most fortified and best air base ever created, and it wasn't built by us. It was built by the Russians when they were in Afghanistan. Just for the record, yeah, it's horrible. I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, it bothers me. Where's Gene? I believe Gene's. I see him posting.
Yeah, Gene's still alive and kicking. He's just not doing any shows or anything right now.
Yeah, he's not doing any shows. I do see him posting. We haven't talked to him in a while, but we will. Hopefully, we'll be talking to him. But yeah, that was a travesty. It's a travesty. But this is what they do. They ignore things. They ignore things, and especially when it affects their. It might affect their poll numbers, so they just pretend it didn't happen. It's like Kamala. Kamala had, they want you to believe at this convention that Trump has been in office for the last 3.5 years and that she wasn't the vice president. She's talking about all the things she's got to fix that they created. Yeah, last person in the room. Yeah. Oh, she forgot that, George. She forgot that. Yeah, I know they are really incensed by what happened over there. And like I said, justifiably so. They are, what happened there is an outrage. Look, we understand that things happen in those circumstances, but when you make every attempt to prevent them from happening, it's your fault. That was the most chaotic, disgusting. Those generals, a corporal could have run that evacuation better. How do you allow your enemy to be right up in your face? Number one, you've got to have a free fire zone. You've got to have a clear zone. Everybody knows that. Well, not everybody. Apparently, Milley and Austin didn't know that. They just let them come right up to the gate and blow everybody up. I mean, that was just unbelievable. You've got to look. I don't know if anybody remembers what happened in Lebanon when they drove a truck into a barracks and killed a lot of Marines that were stationed in Beirut at the time, and that was a mess up. But they did have a clear zone. But what they did was they had a straight road that they could drive right into the barracks, and you can't have that. You got to have like a zigzag pattern. So if some idiot's trying to do that, you can intercept them before they get there. But no free fire zone. Yeah, it was a success. Yeah, for Biden, that's what. Look, Steve. The reality is they create their own narrative. It's like now, the happy joy. Let's all make this Woodstock and Lollapalooza land, and it's all about joy, not about policy. And we haven't been in office for the last 3.5 years. I haven't been the vice president for 3.5 years. I didn't have anything to do with the border, even though I was. I'm not going to be semantic. Border czar, border idiot. You can call her anything you want, but they sent her down there to Central America. She stopped at the border, but nowhere near any of the hot spots, I think, once. And remember her famous comment, well, I haven't been to Europe, when she was pressed on she hadn't been to the border yet. But they forget all that. And this is the thing. They think everybody in the country is an imbecile. Nobody remembers that. Yeah, the people who are more worried about Taylor Swift's concert than they are about World War III. You're right. They're going to believe you because they don't have a clue. They don't know what's happening in the world today. They just don't. And they don't care. They're living in their mother's basement. And that's the end of it. But, I mean, normal people know you go to the market, you got to pay more for everything. Your gas prices. I was paying $2 4 years ago, and I'll tell you what, if Kamala is elected, the country is gone. We'll be a socialist country in no time, and that's the irony of it. That the people who want this are really. They just twist the narrative. They're the ones fighting for democracy when in fact they're not. But the other thing I don't know if you saw it, CJ. I'm going to bring this up since we're talking politics and national politics and stuff. I saw a little blip on the TV on my TV, but I didn't catch it because I had to leave. I guess our illustrious socialist senator, and don't you think it's ironic that all the socialists in this country are all millionaires?
Of course.
Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, they're all socialists, but they're all loaded. Oh, the poor people. We all got to share the wealth. Well, give us some of your money, Elizabeth.
That's it.
But they said Elizabeth Warren had a very, very intense clash with the media about something. And I wanted to see it. I missed it. And I know it was about, I think it was about Kamala. I guess that's, I have a hard time remembering it. That I think that's the way she wants it pronounced, Kamala. But I think it was over her price control, which obviously we know is socialists. That's a socialist, and that's the other thing they forget. They forget we tried it in this country. Yeah, that's right, limousine liberals. Yeah, big limousines, probably. There's no doubt about it. They're Mercedes limousines. They're not just regular limousines. They're probably Mercedes. But they forgot that Carter tried it and Nixon tried it. It was an absolute. Of course, they tried it elsewhere in the world, like in Russia, where you have to wait 3.5 weeks for a loaf of bread and stand in line for 2 days. That the stuff doesn't work, and it works even. It's even worse in the United States. We have a capitalistic economy. You think that producers are going to produce food if they can't make any money? You think they're going to keep their gear? They'll just cut their production. You're going to tell them you can only charge 49 cents for a loaf of bread and it costs them 52 cents? Guess what? They're shutting down. They're shutting down. But government doesn't care because government never runs out of your money.
That's true. That's true. And and that's what makes it bad, because even when you want to fight the government, they fight you with your money. So you got to fight them with your money, and they get to fight you with your money. Seems a little redundant, personally. but
yeah.
Let's bring this back, okay? Because let's look at some of the misinformation coming out of the Biden, now Harris camp. Inflation is down. Yes, it is. But when Biden took office and Kamala Harris took office, knocked it up to 9%. That happened on their watch. It went up to 9%. Didn't happen under the Trump watch. It happened under the Biden watch.
No,
we looked at that. And you know what? They talk about bringing all the jobs back. We've got all these new jobs. They're not new jobs. They're old jobs that are being brought back because during COVID, those people didn't work. And we're out of work, collecting unemployment.
Yeah,
but then they were brought back to work. And guess what? They went off the unemployment rolls and that became new jobs. It's not new jobs. It's old jobs. It's recycled.
It's not only information, CJ. It's a gross manipulation of the facts intentionally.
Right.
Because number one, when you tell a half line, you're not telling the whole story. Inflation's down. It is from 9%. When they took over, it was 1.4%.
That's right.
So the thing is that if inflation goes down from 9 to 5, it went down. But it's still 2.5 times higher than it was when they took over office. It is still not keeping up. Wages are not keeping up, even with the reduced inflation rate. The same thing with everything they talk. Look, that's the oldest con in the world. They jack your gas up to $5 a gallon from $2 a gallon, and then they drop it down to $4, and they want you to be happy. Oh, look, we reduced the gas price to $4. Well, I remember when it was $2. You didn't go back to where it was. You knocked off a buck, but it's still double what it was before.
That's right.
This is the problem with them. They lie. They manipulate everything. Everything they say. And I saw James Carville. I watched, because I tape everything. I watched him on Hannity. Oh, man, it was disgusting. How they just everything they have is they don't have any fundamental ethics. Their ethics are malleable. They can just twist it. I think Hannity talked about giving health care to illegals, and Carville's response was, well, you know, I'm a Catholic, and I don't think any human being should be denied health care. Well, I can understand that position. Yeah, nobody should. If somebody comes across the border and they're sick, we're not going to let them. We should not let them die. But that was the reason to allow them across the border. No. Oh, if somebody treks 500 miles from Guatemala and comes in here, we should let them in. No, they don't belong here. If they're sick, should we help them? Yes, because that's the Christian thing to do. You want to talk about you're a Catholic. And then he segued into that. But, you know, I'm a little disappointed in Hannity because he started talking about he was a Catholic. And I'm saying to myself, Sean, why don't you ask him? You're a Catholic? Apparently, you're not a really good Catholic because you're one of the biggest proponents for abortion on demand around. So, you know, they only obey the laws that they like. They only take the parts of something that they like. It's not applicable to them if they don't like it. It's just, I don't care what the law says. I want to do something else. I don't care. Carville just, you know, I mean, I was very disappointed at an interview by Hannity. He just let him off. I think he wants to he's friendly with him. He wants to keep a relation, even though he's from a different party. And I know his wife's supposed to be a Republican and they're always fighting. But I mean, he let him get away with the most, I mean, it was such an obvious line of bullshit. It was incredible.
Well, I mean, here's Stevie B's comment. Carville, the snapping turtle.
Yeah, with his LSU shirt. I know he likes LSU with his T-shirt, but like I said, he was up there just making no sense at all. Just these half things. It's like, well, you know, you're in the Knights of Columbus. Does that mean you can only abide by the rules of the Knights of Columbus? I know you're a Mason. I know they have rules and regulations. Don't they throw you out if you don't abide by their rules?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, but not the Democratic Party because they have no rules.
They have no rules.
Just do whatever you want.
Yep. Coronate anyone you want as queen or king or whatever. You know, we don't have a monarchy, but it seems that with the Democratic Party we do. That's for sure. Stevie B asked a question. Do we think that RFK Jr.'s endorsing Trump will help in the election? Well, it won't hurt. That's for sure. And they are calculating that somewhere between 5 and 8% of the polling numbers will go to Trump. The balance, some will go to Kamala, but they say that a good chunk of the balance have opted not to go out and vote at all. They don't want to vote for president at all. So that tells you how people are feeling about this. They're feeling very, you know, distrusting. They're feeling very betrayed. And they feel that they don't have a good choice. And maybe you don't. Maybe the choice is the devil that you know or the devil you don't. It's got to be what you feel comfortable with. I don't feel comfortable with Kamala Harris because I've listened to her and she has no policy. She hasn't spoken once about a policy. Not once.
Well,
how can you be running for office and not speak about policy?
Well, easy. You can be a Democrat. Yeah, and you don't have to talk about policy, okay? But listen, I don't have that problem. And I understand everybody's, individuals have their own way of looking at everything. Right. I'm a pragmatist. I'm not an optimist or a pessimist. I'm a pragmatist. I don't care what if my plumber is Donald Trump. If he can fix my plumbing, I'll hire him. If he's good and he's going to do a good job, I'm going to hire him. I don't like everything Trump does. I don't like everything he says. But I knew that when he had the country, I was paying $2 for gas. Everything was cheaper. The mortgage rates were cheaper. I was preparing to refinance my house so I could do some major renovations. I can't now because the interest rates are just too damn high. I'm not going to do it. And RFK is a classic example. Listen, RFK is a very bright guy. I agree with some of the things he says, but he's a classic example. He's a little lower key than Trump. But I disagree vehemently with some of his policies, but you can talk to him. But I think what's important about RFK is he is going to help them in the battleground states, I think, to a degree. But see, the problem he has, and I think when I saw him speak, he said it best. Nobody's going to get the full story because the media put a clamp on him. When he said that he only got 2 short interviews and all the time he was campaigning with the mainstream media, every mainstream media cut the speech off. Some of them didn't cover it at all when he spoke with Trump. And the rest of them that were covering it, as soon as he started talking about media bias, they shut down the feed. This is the problem in this country. We have a fascist, dictatorial government running this. The mainstream media is in bed with the Democratic Party. They shut the feed off. And listen, they're probably on some policies, nobody farther apart than Donald Trump and RFK. But they agree on the really important things like freedom of speech, lack of censorship, because both of them have experienced that. And they understand how important it is in America to be able to say whatever you want. Listen, I'll argue all day with Democrats. You know, it's like a hobby for us. We'll argue with them all the time. We'll call them names. They can call us names. That's fine. We'll argue. Because it's like entertainment, you know. It's like a cat torturing a rat to death, you know. You know, that's what people don't think they eat them. No, they actually give them a heart attack. When a cat gets a rat, they torture him to death. And but this is what America was about, and they've forgotten that. It's about their way or the highway. You use the right pronouns or not, we put you in jail. If you believe in biology, we got to put you in jail. That's not America. America was said, look, you can be as nutty as you want. You can say that you believe you're a squirrel or a harp seal or whatever you want it. I don't care. As long as you don't try to make me think I'm a harp seal. I don't care. But this is the thing. This election is historic because they get another 4 years. This country is going to be San Francisco. And they talked a lot about San Francisco, and they still do. Probably at the nicest city, and there's a lot of beautiful cities in this country. Don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of great cities when they were great. But San Francisco was probably one of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen. I saw a lot of beautiful cities in Europe and in the Orient. But the fact is that, San Francisco was really a jewel. I mean, it was really a jewel. The architecture and everything else, and the hills, and they wrote songs about it. Now it's a third world country. People laying in the streets, shooting up. I mean, it looks like you're in New Delhi with the beggars in the streets. This is what they're going to turn America into. This is what they're going to turn America into.
Well, that's true. There are paternity fraud victims, and you have to question. You have to question now because not every woman's honest about their pregnancy, and so people want proof because there's a financial obligation to it as well. Not just it's your child and I love them, blah 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 blah, but there's also financial obligation. And when people turn to social media for advice instead of turning to an attorney, they're kind of crazy. And a paternity test while the child's in the womb is very expensive and dangerous. Paternity tests are usually given after the child is born and when there's a question about paternity and there's a question about child support. So be careful what you ask for.
That's true. And Stevie, you're right. They do. He does have a comment, but he loves China anyway. We know that. He spent time teaching in China. He loves he uses Chinese policies. That's how he got that rat out your neighbor line when he was during COVID, when he locked everybody down. He likes to be totalitarian. He wants to be able to be in total control. He's a phony. You're right. But the other problem is it's not only in his state. We've got Chinese everywhere. I mean, this is documented. This isn't theory. We know there are thousands of illegal Chinese that have crossed the border. Military age males, predominantly, not Chinese children and women and stuff. Military age Chinese. They have recorded that they're going to gun ranges. How they're going to gun ranges, I don't know. I mean, you got to jump through hoops. You got to be Mother Teresa to get a gun, to get a license to buy a firearm in a blue state like this. If you can be a law-abiding citizen, they still make you jump through hoops. They still haven't figured out that criminals don't buy guns legally, and that's the thing. So the other thing that idiot Carville talked about. Oh, because Hannity brought up all the murders by these illegals. He said, well, they murdered them with legal guns. And Hannity again blew that one. He should have told Carville, no, they're not legal guns. You can sell guns legally in the United States, but if you are an illegal and you have a handgun, it is an illegal handgun. Not a legal handgun. You procured that gun illegally because you can't get a license and you can't buy one legally if you're an illegal alien. I mean, it was a very disappointing interview. I think I'm going to write Hannity and tell him how, and I know he likes the guy, but you can't let that stuff go. But that's the problem. The problem is they ignore every single thing. We've got Chinese military people in this country. They found more than one Chinese police forces in this country. In other states, there are Chinese laboratories in this country. There are Chinese military personnel training while they're here. What do the Dems do? What does Tim Walz do? Oh, we like China. Oh, China's really good. They're our friend. And actually, he speaks Chinese. Good for him. It's a very difficult language to speak. It's a tonal language. But this is crazy. What we see happen in this country is absolutely crazy. But you notice how low key they keep everything. Nothing's ever on. You don't see this stuff. They don't talk about it. It's kind of like Paul. Where was Paul? Nobody knows where Paul is except every once in a while he's at Bacello's with Kenny Fiola getting his marginal heads. Did he go to the feast CJ?
Well, according to my sources, he wasn't well received at the feast. There was a lot of disruption and comments about the fact that he has charged the feast for the police. And people are unhappy about that. Yeah, because they've been giving it free for 28 years. They weren't charged anything. Now, all of a sudden, the feast has got to pay. Well, guess what? St. Anthony of the Desert, they had their little feast. Okay? Guess what they paid for? They paid for police. Imagine that. And private security. The one thing about the priest over at that church is he publishes every expense, every piece of income on all his events. And that's what happens.
Yeah, no, Steve was right. They're purchasing land. They're purchasing everything. You've got, actually, they own Japan, and China own a lot of Hawaii, a lot of the United States now, especially China. China's buying a whole bunch of, and they're trying to outlaw it, but of course the Democrats don't want to say that. And yeah, you're right. And they're around on military bases. They're around secure areas. And the Democrats just keep going because they all make money from China. Look, we keep saying this, but the Democrats, they are not Americans. They hate America. They're trying to redefine America. This is a horrible country, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's saying it's perfect. We got our warts, but it's still the best country in the world. Or it was. But they're not Americans. They're globalists. All these movie actors that are promising to leave the country, burn themselves like Buddhist monks. If Trump gets elected, one could only hope that they follow through with that threat. I'd like to see them all move. They don't really like America anyway. Well, go live wherever you want. You don't like it here. That's one thing about this country. Before it was difficult to get in. Now it isn't. But you can leave. Nobody's going to hold a gun to your head to stay here. So you don't like it, see you later. But what are they doing to this country? They are globalists. They are not American. They're waving a flag. We're going to make America. We're going to do this for America, for democracy, for this bullshit. They don't care. They're globalists. They jet set around the world and they do whatever they want. And then they tell you that we should be socialists. But every socialist country's got their rich elite. And that's what they want. They want everybody poor and them rich and elite. Like I said, for Pocahontas to be talking about social programs is just, it's ludicrous. Her and Bernie Sanders, they're both millionaires, multi-millionaires. Nancy Pelosi, they're all millionaires. They don't care. Nothing bothers them. And to get back to the feast, well, I guess, I can see them being upset. But like I said, Santa the Desert pays for theirs. But there's a problem. It's not only the feast, but what they should be bitching to Paul about is he ignores all his promises to be transparent, to follow the law, to give us a break on our taxes. When they get their 23% water bill and they get their property taxes and they see how much their house has been, that's what they should be upset about. That's what they should be upset about. And it's only going to get worse. It's just like Kamala's program. What is her brilliant solution to this? Price control and trillions of dollars in spending, more spending. And oh, by the way, higher taxes, just in case. She wants higher taxes too. But they really kind of try to gloss over that. And this is the problem. People you look, okay, the Gen Zers are not going to do their homework. They're going to be worried about when Taylor Swift's next concert's going to be. They're going to be worried about catching their favorite influencer on TikTok. So they're lost causes. They're lost causes. Once mommy and daddy are gone, they'll be in a street in San Francisco, laying in the middle of the street because they're not functional parts of society, and you can't, they're living in an alternate universe, as are the rich elitists. So it's the people in between like us that get the squeeze. Yeah. I'll tell you what. You're right, Stevie. When Barack got elected president, he was on the road to being a billionaire. Well, you're one of the few.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, if you listen to some of the propaganda coming out, okay, like $6,000 for a newborn infant tax break, okay, that's buying your vote. That's not going to benefit people who already have children. That's not going to benefit the people who have children because it's for a newborn. And all these tax breaks that, quote unquote, for the low and middle class are going to benefit them. No, it's not. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you in the long run. Because when they take from the right, they give back with the left. When they take from the left, they give back with the right. But what happens usually is they give a little and take a lot. And you can't win. You just can't win. Thanks for the information. I'm glad that he is speaking with Gold Star families. I mean, it's something that the Biden administration is not doing.
Well, like I said, the last thing they ever want to be reminded of is what a mess that thing was, and that's bad enough. I mean, that's just obscene to not recognize that. But then to actually have the unmitigated gall, the audacity, the temerity to say that operation was a success, I still can't believe that they're trying to sell that. But that shows the mainstream media. You cannot see pictures of that horrific mess on the mainstream. They don't show it. You won't see that. You won't see them hanging off the C-130s and stuff like that, because that's what they do. They cover up their mistakes and they ignore them. That's what they do. They can't. They will not accept responsibility for when they mess something up.
Jeff, we spoke about that a little earlier, and we gave some. They're predicting that between 5 and 8% of the polling numbers are going to go to Trump, and what the remainers, about 50%, are going to choose not to vote at all, and the other 50% are going to go for Harris. I agree with Kennedy's reason and rationale for stepping down. He said he didn't want to be a spoiler. I mean, but he had 15% of the vote. That could be enough of a spoiler. That could give the election to either side. But with that 15% going to Trump, or hoping that it goes to Trump, you hope for a better outcome.
Yeah, I think that swing states are going to be where the biggest impact. He's supposed to be campaigning with Trump, because the problem is, and I know that one of his major complaints was the lack of freedom of speech, the media suppressing the truth, that he only got 2 interviews in all the time he was campaigning in all the states, and that they intentionally suppressed, they lie, they do everything to manipulate. He's got to get that message out personally in these battleground states, because he's got enough support. A lot of people don't realize that most of those battleground states in the last election, and I know they cheated, they've proven it now, but the fact is that there was only a few thousand votes in those states. Some of those states were decided by like 15,000, 20,000 votes, which is peanuts when you look at the millions of votes cast. Now, somebody like Robert Kennedy and his supporters, if he goes there and convinces people and I think his speech when he talked with Trump was really good, because he focused and he said it. We have a lot of things we disagree on, but let's focus on the things we do agree on. And he said, we need to keep our freedom, our First Amendment rights. We need to have freedom of speech. We cannot suppress other people's ideas. And we believe in the press giving equal coverage. And this is the thing, and making America, working on some of the economic things for America. That's the key. The highlight of that speech to me was him saying, listen, I mean, I don't even know if identical twins, I know genetically they're identical. They'll have the same basic height, they have the same genes. So it's a monozygote. So, but I don't even know if identical twins agree on everything. See, that's the concept that the Democrats want you to believe is not, you cannot coexist with people who have a different opinion than you. Everybody has to think like you. And that's not true. This country was created for people that think differently and peacefully coexist in a majority rules. That's what they did with this nation. The fact is that I got a lot of friends who like the Red Sox. I'm not one of them. So, but I get along with people who like the Red Sox. I'm not going to say, well, I can't talk to you. You like the Red Sox. We have friends that disagree with us on a lot of things. But when it comes to politics, it's like you can't disagree with Democrats, because then you're a fascist. You're what they are. They project it on you. You're a fascist. You're a Nazi. You're a misogynist. And how dare you actually define a woman biologically and all that other stuff. Yeah. Great. Not putting. He was still on vacation. Yes, last time I checked, he was still in California. Yeah, well, he kind of late, but I can see Kennedy's got a lot of good programming. Look, he's done a lot for people. Like I said, I disagree with some of his some of his real liberal, super liberal positions, but he did a lot to bring fuel and heat, and he did a lot of things to help people. And he is a very, very intelligent guy. And it shows how vicious the Democrats are. They made fun of his voice. When they were, after he gave that speech, they crucified him about the way he talked, because he's got that raspy voice. And they said he was incoherent, which he wasn't. I'm sorry. He was definitely not incoherent. If he was incoherent, it's your brain that's not processing something, because he is fairly articulate. He was pretty clear on what he wanted to say. They did get jammed by somebody, and their feed got screwed up as usual. I think it's Chinese hacks or so. But he was pretty damn clear in what he said. And this is the thing that disturbs me, that these people they're vicious. You make fun of about the way the guy talks. He's got a condition that he's got a raspy voice. Nobody, I haven't heard. Now you can't make fun of Kamala's cackle. I can't even imitate that. I wish I could. I could make money doing a Kamala imitation, but
Hey, Stevie, do we have sound back yet? Because it's not on our end. It might be on the Facebook side.
yeah, probably Facebook. Well, I don't know how to sign, but hey, it is what it is. So the feast is over.
Yes, it is. And there's only one feast left for the rest of the year. That's going to be at the Liberal Club starting this Friday. Runs clean through Labor Day. It's usually the end of the summer event. It's very popular, very big, live music, great food, great times, great people. A lot of times you see people you haven't seen in a couple of years. People come from all around, like they supposedly do for the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost. People do come back to Fall River just to go to the Liberal Club feast because they get to see their family and friends. And that's what they want. And, at the Great Feast, I'm not sure if they had any skirmishes, as I put in my weekend flush.
Skirmishes, yeah, I saw.
I
that.
haven't heard anything. I didn't hear anything on the police scanner. I didn't hear anything on the scanner pages. Nothing. So I'm assuming that it was kind of quiet, and people enjoyed themselves. But people were upset about the $30,000 they had to pay. And personally, I think they're getting away cheap. Look at all that electricity down there. You know what they paid for that? $150 a drop. For each line they dropped, they paid $150. And that included the electricity. If I could get that much electricity for $600 or $700 over 5 days, I'd do it. We gotta get fair market rates for what we're offering. We have to get it. We have to get fair market rates for everything we give them. We got to start charging a fair amount of money. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. This has been a great show. National politics, just as dirty as it is locally.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. It's going to be heavy rains this afternoon, so get your driving done early.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching and have a great day. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday.